Hey, what's up, guys? During my research recently, I've been going back to the beginning of the Brian Koberger case, and I have a few thoughts to share with you and some questions I'd like to ask you as my viewer and get your opinions on. Well, number one, is Brett Payne as inexperienced as we've been led to believe? Number two, I really felt like Brett Payne has portrayed himself as inexperienced both on the stand and in the PCA. How many typos, awkward sentences, vague statements, and witness contradictions can we blame on inexperience? Where is there some something else going on here? Speculating, but if there's a problem with this case, could Brett Payne be some sort of scapegoat, the inexperienced peace officer? Yeah, that's quite a good possibility. Um, because I mean, if you look at it, guys, he had 8 years of service in the military, as well as 4 years as a law enforcement officer before he came to Moscow. You know, Officer Brett Payne was promoted to corporal and assigned to the patrol division as an assistant patrol team supervisor. Corporal Payne started as um, Corporal Payne started with the Moscow Police Department in 2018 after spending 8 years in the United States Army as a military police officer. Corporal Payne is a field training officer and unmanned aerial system drone program coordinator. Corporal Payne holds an Idaho Post Intermediate Peace Officer certification. Okay, if he is as inexperienced, guys, as they're telling us, and we're led to believe, so he has nearly a decade as a police officer, 8 years in the military as military police, plus the time that he spent with Moscow Police Department, which was 2018 to what? Now 2024. So that's what, 12 years. So how is this guy inexperienced if he has 12 years of police service under his belt? And I can understand, guys. I can understand if he had maybe 3 years of police service under his belt. Not being a military police officer in the military, coming out the military and getting hired on at the Moscow Police Department. So you'd have what, 3 4 years? I could see him being inexperienced then, but I cannot see him being inexperienced with uh, almost 13 years of law enforcement background. So come on, guys. And even with that, he lets people smarter than him do his work. And I'll actually and I have a 2 minute clip on that, and I'll pull it up real quick.
Like I said earlier, we relied on cell phone records from surviving roommates as well as the victims. We relied on interviews with the two surviving roommates that were present at the time. We relied on the surveillance footage, cell phone data. I'd have to go paragraph by paragraph, but that's what jumps to mind.
Of those things, are you relying on other people's work to put that all together?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Other people's work.
Now I'm ready to talk about the things that same day as the first one. And was there anything else from AT&T that you saw or relied on to get the second one off the ground?
No, ma'am.
And in the first AT&T search warrant, are you aware that part of the request was for timing advance reports?
Yes, ma'am.
And in fact, that also appears in your second search warrant request, right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And not only do you ask for the timing advance reports from AT&T, you ask for them from several other companies, correct? Verizon's version of it, T-Mobile's version of this kind of timing advance report. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. When was the first time you saw AT&T's timing advance report?
I do not recall when I first saw it.
Where is it?
To the best of my knowledge, all of that information from those returns has been provided to the prosecutor's office.
If I tell you I don't have a timing advance report or any from the other phone companies, where do I look for them?
I would direct you back to the prosecutor's office. Everything that Moscow PD received, in that realm, we have turned over to my knowledge.
But you know you've seen this report, is that right?
I do not recall if I've seen the timing advance reports. I'd have to see what it even looked like to know if I'd seen it.
Do you know what it is?
Not particularly. I'm no expert.
Okay. You wrote the search warrant though, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, how did you get the language for that if you don't know what this is?
So there's no secret that I rely heavily on people who are very highly educated in these topic areas to write this search warrant. So that language.
It's no secret that I rely on people who's very highly educated. So he relies on people who's basically smarter than him to do the work. But I could see that, guys, if he is a fledgling officer, say, like I stated before, 4 years under his belt. But this man has almost 13 years of law enforcement service under his belt. So I'm sorry, I really don't buy the fact that this guy is coming off as inexperienced. Not one bit. I don't buy he's inexperienced. Now, we've all heard Steve G state that the Moscow Police Department was very in over their heads with this case. Yeah, that they were in over their heads because they had never dealt with something like this in a long time, and I'm sorry, I'm starting to believe it. I'm starting to believe that they are in over their heads. And if he is inexperienced, fine. But I think that's where the inexperience is coming in about dealing with a quadruple homicide. And are they really using him as a scapegoat for inexperience? That's the question I want to ask you, my viewers. Do you feel that they're using Brett Payne's inexperience with a quadruple homicide as a scapegoat? Do you feel that they're using his inexperience as a scapegoat because he was a patrol officer and then he was in charge of the drones and now he's the lead investigator on this case? And being lead investigator, he lets people smarter than him, or he relies on people smarter than him to do his work. Like FBI agent Balance and Mowry. And I do want to thank. I want to give credits for this story to Swamp Rose, Nina, Meg P, Angel, Beautifully Broken Woman, and Watching the Watchers. I want to give thanks to them. While she's on sabbatical, Swamp Rose is now my researcher. So I want to give thanks to them for bringing me this research and bringing me this story. But I just wanted to get on here and see what you guys have to say about this, as well as, hey, don't forget about the noise complaints. The noise complaint calls that Blaker came out on, that Payne came out on, and we've seen the video of Payne and Xana talking, and where he's threatening to give her a citation and everything else. Now, Is that inexperience, or is that him throwing his weight around with these college students? Because in all honesty, guys, I don't believe that Brett Payne is inexperienced at all. I think that he's using that uh, as a smoke and mirrors. I believe that he is a very smart person, and he's using the inexperience to get him by and to get him through this case. That's what I believe. I believe he's using that inexperience to get him through this case. But at the same time, you got to think: are they using that inexperience? Let's say the FBI or the MPD or the ISP could be using that inexperience as a scapegoat for him. Oh, well, look at this inexperienced officer. That's a very good possibility they're using it as a scapegoat type scenario. Don't pay attention to this inexperienced officer over here, even though he has 13 years of service under his belt. Don't pay attention to him. He's the scapegoat. Like always, guys, like, subscribe, and comment on my channel. Hit that bell notification for any new uploads. And let me know down in the comments what your take is on what I had to say. Do you believe they're using the inexperienced card as a scapegoat for him, or do you believe he's actually inexperienced? This is Robert with True Crime Podcast, and I'm out, guys. You have a good Tuesday. Peace.